Hey, this is Owen. If you're comfortable, leave your first name and state at the sound of the tiny truck backing up.
Hey, Omen, it's Joseph again. I just wanted to know what is the most extreme cult religion out there, and is it similar to the Mormon cult religion? I've been wanting to know that for quite a while now. So if you can answer that question, I'd be grateful. Stay safe and stay healthy, alright? Bye bye.
It's an interesting question, but it's a complicated question. When a cult gets extreme enough, typically, it kind of eats itself alive and doesn't stick around for very long. That's like the end result of a very, very extreme cult. Only the cults that are not quite as extreme can survive, can continue bringing in new members. Because the higher the social or financial cost, the higher the cost in general, the fewer people you're going to bring in. At least the higher the upfront cost. Jehovah's Witnesses like to offset the costs over the course of like a year while you're studying with them. They get you to commit to a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more throughout that entire year. But the initial upfront cost is zero. It's just making a new friend. That's it. That's the only upfront cost. With Scientology, the upfront cost is high. It's thousands of dollars to get audited and kind of join their program for the first time. So the more extreme a cult is, the fewer people they're going to bring in. A good example would be Heaven's Gate. I think the Heaven's Gate cult is probably one of history's most extreme cults. There were around 40 of them, I think, maybe 50 total. I don't think that at any point in time they ever got over 200 people. But by the end, 39 people died. There were 39 people, including the leader himself, Doe. They lived in a mansion all together, and all of their efforts, all of their work, all of the money that they made, everything went back into funding the cult and the cult's efforts, holding seminars and workshops to bring new members in. The members that were in the group originally mostly made their money through website design. Now remember, this is in the 70s and the 80s and finally in the 90s. I believe it was March 26th, the night of March 26th, 1997, I think, when they all died. So through the 70s and the 80s, they started to grow bigger and bigger. And then in the early 90s, they started to get really serious and extreme, more extreme, if you can believe it, and started locking down, started talking about their belief in suicide and things like that. And they started hiding. They were in hiding because group members' family was looking for them. I don't know if you guys ever saw the original Star Trek, but there was a character on there named Uhura. Here's a picture of her right here, Uhura. Her brother was actually in the Heaven's Gate cult and was one of the people, sadly, who lost his life in the 90s when they took their own lives. They actually went through castration because they believed that the body's sexual desires were evil and disgusting, and they would do anything they could to stop it. So they actually, some of them, went to a storage unit and put a piece of paper up that said Mexico on the door. So if anybody asked what happened and where they got this done, they could say in Mexico. They'd take a scalpel, none of them surgeons, mind you, and they'd cut their stuff off. That's fucking serious. That is a cost, a social cost, if I've ever seen one. So these groups, as they get more and more extreme, typically speaking, there's an eventual end to that extremism. I mean, look at ISIS, for example. They were so extreme that they were willing to do literally anything to perpetuate, to evangelize, to bring in new members. And it led to their eventual downfall. Now, obviously, they're still around in some capacity, but they are broken now, really. They are a shell of what they once were. That's what happens to a cult. They are naturally self-destructive, and it will end in tears if they continue to get too extreme.